Imagine standing on a fog-shrouded mountain when suddenly, you hear footsteps behind you, but no one is there. From phantom horsemen to cursed hills, the UK's most haunted peaks hide terrifying secrets. Dare you join me as we uncover the 10 most haunted hills in the UK, where legends stalk the trails, and the past never truly dies. Stick around, if you're brave enough. 1K subs by September, we need you. Click subscribe, ring the bell, and let's make this happen together. The spookier this channel grows, the wilder the stories get. 1 Pendle Hill, Lancashire. Pendle Hill in Lancashire is one of the most haunted places in the UK, famous for its dark history of witchcraft and ghostly sightings. The hill is closely tied to the Pendle witch trials of 1612, where 12 people were accused of witchcraft, and 10 were hanged. The most well-known among them was Old Mother Demdike, a feared local woman believed to have supernatural powers. Many visitors claim to feel an eerie presence on the hill, especially near the ruins of Malkin Tower, where the accused witches supposedly gathered. Some report hearing whispers, seeing shadowy figures, or feeling sudden chills even on warm days. One of the most famous ghost stories is that of the Pendle witches themselves. Locals and tourists have reported seeing cloaked figures walking the hillside, particularly at dusk. Others have heard strange cackling laughter or the sound of chanting near the old meeting spots. Paranormal investigators have recorded unexplained voices and sudden drops in temperature in certain areas. Some believe the spirits of the executed witches still linger, unable to rest due to the injustice they faced. Another haunting tale involves a phantom black dog, known as a barghest in folklore, which is said to roam the hill. These demonic dogs are often seen as omens of death, and sightings have been reported for centuries. Witnesses describe a large, shadowy hound with glowing red eyes that vanishes when approached. Some believe it is a guardian of the hill, while others think it is a cursed spirit tied to the witches' legends. Even the nearby village of Newchurch has its own ghostly connections. The churchyard is said to hold the grave of one of the Pendle witches, and visitors have reported seeing a ghostly woman in old-fashioned clothing wandering among the graves. Others claim to have been touched or pushed by unseen hands while walking near the hill. Pendle Hill's eerie reputation continues to draw ghost hunters and curious visitors. Whether it's the restless spirits of the accused witches, the phantom black dog, or the unexplained voices in the wind, the hill remains a place of mystery and fear. Even those who don't believe in ghosts admit that the atmosphere can feel heavy and unsettling, as if the past has never truly left. For anyone brave enough to explore, Pendle Hill offers a chilling glimpse into England's haunted history. 2 Glastonbury Tor, Somerset. Glastonbury Tor in Somerset is one of Britain's most mystical and haunted landmarks, steeped in legends of King Arthur, lost kingdoms, and restless spirits. The Tor is a steep, grassy hill topped by the ruins of St. Michael's Church, visible for miles around. Many believe it sits on powerful ley lines, making it a hotspot for supernatural activity. Over the centuries, visitors have reported ghostly monks, shadowy figures, and even the lost island of Avalon appearing in the mist. One of the most famous legends tied to Glastonbury Tor is that of King Arthur. Some say the hill is the entrance to Avalon, the mythical island where Arthur was taken after his final battle. In the 12th century, monks at Glastonbury Abbey claimed to have found the graves of Arthur and Queen Guinevere, adding to the mystery. Even today, people report seeing the ghostly figure of a tall, armored knight, possibly Arthur himself, walking near the Tor at dawn or dusk. Others have heard the distant sound of clashing swords or ghostly whispers carried on the wind. Another chilling tale involves the ghostly monks of St. Michael's Church. The church was destroyed by an earthquake in 1275 and later rebuilt, only to be ruined again during the dissolution of the monasteries under Henry VIII. Visitors have reported seeing spectral figures in dark robes silently pacing the ruins or chanting in Latin. Some hear mournful singing or the tolling of an invisible bell, believed to be the spirits of monks who once lived there. Paranormal investigators have recorded unexplained voices and sudden cold spots around the ruins, especially at night. Strange lights, known as fairy fires or will-o'-the-wisps, have also been seen dancing around the tor. Folklore says these lights lead travelers astray. Some claim to have followed them, only to find themselves lost in the mist, even in familiar areas. Others believe the lights are spirits or remnants of ancient pagan rituals. The tor was once a sacred site for pre-Christian worship, and some say the old gods never truly left. Perhaps the most unsettling story is that of the shadow people. Many visitors describe seeing dark, human-like figures watching them from a distance, only to vanish when approached. Some feel an overwhelming sense of dread, as if unseen eyes are following them. Others report sudden feelings of nausea or dizziness, as though the tor itself is rejecting their presence. Whether it's the ghost of King Arthur, the lost monks of St. Michael's, or the mysterious shadow people, Glastonbury Tor remains a place where the past feels alive. Even skeptics admit there's something eerie about the hill, an energy that lingers between myth and reality. For those brave enough to climb it, the Tor offers not just breathtaking views, but a haunting connection to England's most enduring legends. 3. Silbury Hill, Wiltshire. Rising mysteriously from the Wiltshire countryside near Avebury, Silbury Hill is Europe's largest prehistoric man-made mound, and one of its most haunted. Built over 4,000 years ago during the Neolithic period, this 130-foot-tall chalk hill has baffled archaeologists for centuries. No one knows its true purpose, but many believe it was a sacred burial site or a place of ancient rituals. Over the years, locals and visitors have reported eerie lights, ghostly figures, and an overwhelming sense of dread near the hill, as if something unseen still lingers there. One of the most persistent legends is that of a spectral, King Sil, buried inside the mound in golden armor, sitting atop a ghostly horse. The story goes that if the hill is ever disturbed, his vengeful spirit will rise and bring disaster. In the 18th century, archaeologists dug into the mound, hoping to uncover its secrets, only to find nothing but layers of chalk and flint. Shortly after, a local farmer claimed to see a towering figure in ancient robes standing atop the hill at midnight, watching him with hollow eyes. Others have reported hearing the distant sound of drums or chanting, as if the ghosts of the hill's builders still guard their creation. Strange lights, often described as flickering blue orbs, have been seen floating around Silbury Hill, especially near dawn or dusk. Some believe these are the spirits of druids or ancient priests conducting long-forgotten ceremonies. In the 1970s, a group of paranormal investigators camped near the hill and claimed their equipment malfunctioned while an unseen force seemed to follow them. One investigator swore he heard whispers in an unknown language, while another saw a shadowy figure dart between the trees before vanishing. Another chilling tale involves a phantom carriage that appears on the old road near Silbury Hill. Witnesses describe a black, horse-drawn hearse moving silently before disappearing into thin air. Some say it carries the souls of those who dared to disrespect the hill, while others believe it's an omen of death. In the early 1900s, a local man claimed he saw the carriage stop near the hill, and a hooded figure stepped out, pointing at him before fading away. The man died mysteriously just days later. Even animals seem to sense something unnatural about Silbury Hill. Sheep and dogs often refuse to go near it, and birds are said to avoid flying directly over the mound. Some believe the hill sits on a powerful ley line, amplifying its supernatural energy. Whether it's the ghost of King Sil, the phantom carriage, or the eerie lights, Silbury Hill remains a place where the past feels unnervingly alive. Visitors often leave with more questions than answers, and an unshakable feeling that they were never truly alone on that ancient, haunted mound. For Clay Hill, Wiltshire. Clay Hill, an isolated landmark rising abruptly from the Wiltshire Plains near Warminster, has been shrouded in supernatural folklore for centuries. This mysterious hill, with its distinctive terraced sides and crown of ancient trees, is said to be one of England's most haunted landscapes. The hill's violent history as the site of a forgotten Saxon battle and its connections to pagan rituals have left an indelible mark on local legends, with numerous reports of ghostly armies, demonic apparitions, and unexplained phenomena that continue to unsettle visitors today. One of the most persistent legends tells of a phantom battle that replays on the hill's slopes. Locals and visitors have reported hearing the clash of swords, war cries, and the agonized screams of dying men, particularly on misty evenings or around the anniversary of the historic conflict. Some witnesses claim to have seen spectral warriors locked in combat, their ghostly forms flickering between the hill's terraces before vanishing into thin air. Archaeologists have confirmed the hill was indeed the site of ancient warfare, lending credence to these eerie sightings of residual hauntings where the past seems to bleed into the present. The devil himself features prominently in Clay Hill's folklore. According to local legend, Satan once challenged a giant to see who could build the tallest mound in Wiltshire. When the giant began constructing Silbury Hill, the devil retaliated by scooping up a massive handful of earth to create Clay Hill. However, a clever priest tricked the devil by ringing church bells to signal false dawn, making him drop his mound prematurely. This tale explains the hill's uneven shape and its reputation as a place of dark energy. Visitors often report sudden temperature drops, feelings of being watched, and even sightings of a shadowy horned figure lurking near the hill's summit. Modern paranormal encounters on Clay Hill are just as chilling. Walkers frequently describe losing their way on the clearly marked paths, as if some force deliberately misleads them. Others report hearing disembodied whispers or seeing strange lights moving through the trees at night. One particularly disturbing account from 2013 tells of a couple who became separated while walking the hill at dusk. The woman reported seeing her partner standing motionless further up the slope, only to find him behind her when she turned around. He insisted he hadn't moved and hadn't seen what she described. The hill's wildlife adds to its eerie reputation. Birds are said to avoid nesting in certain trees, while animals often behave strangely when near the summit. Local farmers tell stories of livestock refusing to graze on particular sections of the slopes, as if sensing something humans cannot. Even the hill's vegetation grows in unusual patterns, with certain areas remaining inexplicably bare despite fertile soil. Whether these phenomena stem from ancient battles, pagan rituals, or something more supernatural, Clay Hill continues to fascinate and frighten in equal measure. The combination of well-documented historical events, centuries of folklore, and modern paranormal reports creates a compelling case that this unassuming Wiltshire landmark may truly be one of Britain's most haunted hills. Visitors brave enough to climb its slopes often report leaving with an overwhelming sense of unease, and the distinct impression they were never truly alone during their ascent. 5 Brener Church Hill, Devon. Perched dramatically atop an ancient volcanic outcrop in West Devon, the tiny church of St. Michael Delaware Rupee at Brener commands breathtaking views of the surrounding moors, and harbors some of England's most chilling ghost stories. Built in the 13th century, this lonely hilltop chapel sits 1,100 feet above sea level, accessible only by a steep, winding path that seems to deter more than just the living. Visitors and locals alike have reported spine-tingling encounters with spectral monks, phantom funerals, and an overwhelming sense of unease that clings to the weathered stones like the area's ever-present mists. The most persistent ghost story involves the tragic figure of a young bride who supposedly fell to her death from the church tower on her wedding day. Witnesses claim to hear her desperate screams echoing across the hillside, particularly on stormy nights when the wind howls through the churchyard. Some have reported seeing the pale apparition of a woman in a tattered wedding dress standing at the tower's edge, only to vanish when approached. In 2018, a photographer captured what appears to be a ghostly female face in one of the church windows, despite being alone on the hill at the time. Equally chilling are the accounts of phantom monks who still seem to guard this sacred site. Visitors often report the sound of Gregorian chanting coming from inside the locked church at night, while others have seen hooded figures processing around the churchyard. One local farmer recounted seeing a group of spectral monks walking through the adjacent field, their feet not touching the ground, before disappearing through the solid church wall. The air around the church is said to grow suddenly cold when these apparitions appear, with several sensitive individuals reporting feelings of nausea or dizziness when near certain areas of the building. Perhaps the most disturbing phenomenon is the ghostly funeral procession that some claim to witness climbing the hill at midnight. Descriptions vary, but most accounts mention shadowy figures carrying a coffin up the steep path, accompanied by the sound of mournful weeping. The procession always disappears before reaching the churchyard gates. Local legend suggests these are the spirits of plague victims from the 14th century who were denied proper Christian burial. Even the path up to the church seems touched by the supernatural. Many visitors report feeling an unseen presence following them as they climb, with some claiming to hear footsteps behind them when no one is there. Dogs often refuse to approach the church, whining and pulling back on their leads. The churchyard itself has several unmarked graves, and some visitors report feeling sudden, inexplicable sadness when standing near certain spots. What makes Brener particularly eerie is how these hauntings intertwine with its very real history. The church was indeed used as a refuge during the plague, and records show multiple tragic deaths associated with the site. Whether it's the heartbroken bride, the devoted monks, or the restless plague victims, Brener Churchill remains one of Devon's most authentically haunted locations, a place where the veil between past and present feels unnervingly thin. Visitors often leave with more questions than answers, and many admit they couldn't bring themselves to stay until sunset, when the shadows grow long and the hill's ghosts seem most active. 6. Roseberry Topping, North Yorkshire. Known as the Yorkshire Matterhorn for its distinctive jagged profile, Roseberry Topping rises dramatically from the North York moors near Great Ayton, bearing scars from centuries of mining and geological shifts. But beneath its picturesque slopes lies a darker history of tragedy, restless spirits, and unexplained phenomena that have cemented its reputation as one of Yorkshire's most haunted natural landmarks. The hill's ruined ironstone mines and lonely moorland paths serve as the backdrop for numerous chilling encounters that continue to unsettle visitors to this day. One of the most persistent legends involves the ghost of a young miner said to haunt the old mining tunnels beneath the hill. In the 19th century, a catastrophic collapse trapped and killed several workers, and locals claim one victim never left. Walkers near the abandoned mine entrances report hearing phantom pickaxe sounds and desperate shouts for help echoing from solid rock. More disturbingly, some have encountered the apparition of a soot-covered man in tattered work clothes who approaches with outstretched hands before vanishing into thin air. The smell of damp earth and burning candles has been reported near these sites, even when no logical source exists. The hill's connection to Captain James Cook adds another supernatural layer. The famous explorer played here as a boy, and some believe his spirit returns to his childhood haunt. Visitors describe seeing a ghostly figure in 18th century naval attire standing motionless on the summit, staring out to sea. When approached, the figure simply disappears. Others report hearing strange whistling, possibly mimicking Cook's reputed habit of whistling to ward off evil spirits at sea, coming from empty areas of the hillside. Perhaps the most unsettling phenomenon is the disappearing path experienced by numerous walkers. Even in clear weather, familiar trails seem to vanish, leaving hikers suddenly disoriented on the open hillside. Some report seeing other walkers ahead who simply blink out of existence when followed. Local folklore suggests these are the shadow walkers, spirits of those who died on the hill, forever retracing their final journeys. The area around Newton wood seems particularly prone to these occurrences, with multiple reports of compasses malfunctioning and electronic devices failing without explanation. Roseberry Topping's wildlife adds to its eerie atmosphere. Birds are said to avoid certain areas of the summit, and rabbits reportedly freeze as if sensing danger near particular outcrops. Nighttime visitors describe seeing strange lights moving across the hillside. Some claim these are the lanterns of long-dead miners still searching for a way out. The hill's microclimate often creates sudden, localized fogs that some paranormal investigators believe may act as a bridge between worlds, explaining the frequency of supernatural encounters. Whether it's the trapped miner, Cook's restless spirit, or the mysterious shadow walkers, Roseberry Topping remains a place where the past feels uncomfortably present. Even skeptics admit there's something unsettling about the hill after dark, when the wind sounds like distant voices and the moonlight casts strange shadows across the rocks. For those brave enough to climb it at night, the hill offers more than just spectacular views, it provides a chilling connection to North Yorkshire's haunted history that lingers long after the descent. 7. The Longmoor, Shropshire. Rising like a dark island from the Shropshire countryside, the Longmoor's vast, heather-covered plateau has been a place of mystery for centuries. This sprawling moorland, stretching nearly 7 miles with deep, plunging valleys known as batches, seems to hold on to its secrets as tightly as its thin soil clings to the ancient rock beneath. But it's not just the treacherous weather and lonely landscape that unsettles visitors. The Longmoor is home to some of England's most persistent ghost stories, with tales of phantom horsemen, lost travelers, and eerie lights that have chilled generations of locals and walkers alike. The most famous spectre haunting these moors is the ghostly rider known as the Black Horseman of the Longmoor. Described as a towering figure in dark, flowing robes astride a skeletal horse, this apparition has been seen galloping silently along the old packhorse routes before vanishing into thin air. The earliest accounts date back to the 17th century, when a male rider disappeared during a blizzard, his body found weeks later, frozen upright in the saddle. To this day, hikers report hearing the sound of hooves pounding behind them on deserted trails, only to turn and find nothing there. Some claim to have seen the horseman's glowing red eyes watching them from the mist before he charges straight through them, leaving an unnatural cold in his wake. Equally chilling are the stories of the lost children of the Longmoor. Local folklore tells of a group of Victorian schoolchildren who vanished while attempting to cross the moor in bad weather. Search parties found only one survivor, a girl who babbled about the smiling man who led her friends into the mist. To this day, walkers report hearing children's laughter echoing from empty valleys, particularly near the area known as Dead Man's Batch. Some have glimpsed small figures in old-fashioned clothing between the heather, while others find tiny handprints appearing mysteriously on their car windows after parking in remote spots. The Longmoor's weather seems to play tricks on those who venture onto the moor. Sudden, localized fogs descend without warning, some claiming these mists move against the wind. Several experienced hikers have reported becoming completely disoriented in clear conditions, walking in circles despite using compasses. Strange lights, known locally as Moui fire, dance along the ridges at night, sometimes appearing to follow walkers. Scientific explanations point to marsh gas or optical illusions, but those who've witnessed them swear the lights move with purpose, disappearing when approached only to reappear behind the observer. Perhaps most disturbing are the modern accounts from the gliding club that operates on the moor. Pilots report seeing figures standing on impossible ledges or waving from areas no human could reach. One instructor described seeing what appeared to be a man in 18th century dress walking calmly across a vertical cliff face before vanishing. Others tell of radio interference that comes and goes without explanation, often accompanied by the sound of breathing or whispering on the frequency. Whether it's the Black Horseman keeping his eternal vigil, the lost children still playing in the heather, or something older and far less human, the Longmoor remains a place where rational explanations falter. Even in bright sunlight, there's an unsettling quality to the silence here, a sense that you're being watched from the empty valleys and lonely ridges. Those who spend the night on the moor often speak of an overwhelming urge to leave before darkness falls completely, as if some ancient survival instinct warns them that the Longmoor belongs to its ghosts after sundown. The moor gives up its secrets reluctantly, if at all, and those who venture here might find more than they bargained for in its beautiful, haunted expanse. 8. Worm Hill, County Durham. The unassuming mound known as Worm Hill near Lambton Park in County Durham holds one of northern England's most famous legends, the tale of the Lambton Worm. What appears as a simple grassy knoll conceals a dark history of curses, supernatural battles, and reported hauntings that continue to this day. The story dates back to the 14th century when young John Lambton skipped church to go fishing in the river where, only to catch a strange, eel-like creature with 9 holes on each side of its salamander-like head. Disgusted, he threw it down a well, where it grew into a massive, serpentine monster that terrorized the countryside. The fully grown worm would wrap its enormous body around Worm Hill 3 times while devouring livestock and children, its toxic breath poisoning the land. After many failed attempts to kill it, John Lambton, now a knight returning from the Crusades, finally slew the beast using a special suit of armor studded with razor-sharp blades. But the victory came at a terrible price, the witch's curse that whoever killed the worm would see their family perish within 9 generations. Modern visitors to Worm Hill report unsettling encounters suggesting the legend may have roots in real paranormal phenomena. Many experience sudden temperature drops when approaching the mound, with some claiming to hear hissing sounds coming from the ground itself. Others report seeing strange, serpentine shapes moving through the grass when no animals are present. In 2014, a group of paranormal investigators recorded what sounded like a deep, guttural growling near the hill's base, though no natural source could be found. Local farmers tell of livestock refusing to graze on the hill's slopes, especially at dusk, as if sensing something unseen. The most common supernatural report involves sightings of a ghostly worm, described as a translucent, snake-like form that appears to undulate just above the ground before vanishing. These sightings often coincide with the smell of rotting flesh or sulfur in the air. Some witnesses claim to have seen the apparition of a knight in medieval armor standing vigil atop the hill at night, believed to be John Lambton's spirit still bound to the cursed site. Others report hearing what sounds like a woman's manic laughter, possibly the witch who placed the original curse, echoing across the field surrounding the mound. Archaeological surveys have revealed unusual electromagnetic anomalies around Worm Hill, with some speculating these could explain the persistent reports of electronic devices malfunctioning in the area. The hill's strange reputation extends to its vegetation. Certain patches of grass reportedly grow in distinct spiral patterns reminiscent of a coiled serpent, despite no logical explanation for this growth formation. Whether these phenomena stem from ancient curses, supernatural entities, or something more mysterious, Worm Hill remains a place where legend and reported hauntings intertwine in disturbing ways. Visitors often leave with an unshakable feeling of being watched, and many report vivid nightmares in the days following their visit, dreams often featuring serpents, armored figures, or a terrible sense of drowning. The mound's dark legacy persists centuries after the legendary battle, suggesting some forces may never truly be defeated, only waiting beneath the earth for their time to rise again. 9 Black Mountain, Kamadena. The brooding expanse of Black Mountain, YNYNYDD-do, in the Kamadena Brecon Beacons is a place where the modern world fades into ancient mystery. This wild, roadless moorland, stretching along the Wales-England border, has been the setting for countless supernatural encounters that chill the blood of even experienced hillwalkers. The mountain's peat bogs swallow sounds whole, creating an eerie silence broken only by the occasional cry of a raven, or something far less natural. Those who brave its slopes tell of shadow figures that follow at a distance, phantom lights that lead travelers astray, and an overwhelming sense of being watched from the heather-clad hollows. The most persistent legend speaks of the Moui Valley Ghost, a towering spectral figure seen roaming the mountain's eastern slopes near Lynwy Fan Foc. Described as wearing tattered medieval robes with hollow, burning eyes, this apparition is said to be the spirit of a 12th century warrior cursed to wander after betraying his clan. Local farmers report finding their sheep mysteriously slaughtered in perfect circles after nights when the figure was spotted. In 2018, a group of campers fled in terror after witnessing what they described as a black shape taller than a man with no face, standing motionless at the edge of their firelight for hours before vanishing at dawn. Equally chilling are the accounts of the vanishing walkers. The mountain's shifting mists have swallowed countless travelers throughout history, with some reappearing days later with no memory of where they'd been. The most famous case occurred in 1907 when 3 experienced guides searching for a lost boy became separated near Brener. 2 were found unconscious in a bog the next morning, while the third emerged a week later, 15 miles away, babbling about the beautiful people who took him underground. He died in an asylum 2 months later, still drawing strange spiral patterns and repeating the phrase, "They're waiting in the cracks." Modern hikers still report sudden disorientation, with some claiming to hear ethereal singing that seems to come from beneath their feet. The mountain's lakes hold their own dark secrets. Lynwy Fan 4 is said to be bottomless, with locals reporting strange lights rising from its depths on moonless nights. Fishermen tell of nets coming up empty for days, then suddenly filled with rotting catch that disintegrates when touched. The most disturbing account comes from a 1992 incident where rescue divers searching for a missing student surfaced prematurely, one suffering severe hypothermia despite the water being relatively warm. Their recording equipment had captured what sounded like distant hammering and screams before failing completely. Perhaps most unsettling is the phenomenon locals call the shadow that grows. Multiple witnesses describe seeing their own shadows stretch impossibly long before detaching and moving independently. A 2016 mountain rescue report mentions 2 lost hikers who became hysterical when their shadows walked away without us, near Fan Brekiniak. The area where this occurs coincides with ancient standing stones whose original purpose has been lost to time, though archaeologists note the local quartz deposits create unusual magnetic anomalies. Whether these experiences stem from the mountain's treacherous landscape, lingering spirits, or something older and more primal, Black Mountain remains a place where rational explanations fail. Even the sheepfolds built into its slopes follow odd, non-practical patterns that some researchers believe were designed to ward off something unseen. Those who spend a night on these moors often speak of an ancient, watchful presence, something that was here long before humans and will remain long after. The mountain gives up its secrets reluctantly, and those who venture too deep into its mist-shrouded wilderness might find more than breathtaking views, they might become part of its dark legend. 10 Ben Macdui, Cairngorms, Scotland. In the heart of Scotland's Cairngorms, Ben Macdui rises as the second highest peak in Britain, a brooding, plateau-like mountain shrouded in mist and mystery. While its physical height is imposing, it's the mountain's supernatural reputation that truly terrifies. Known as the home of Fear Lieth More, the Great Grey Man, Ben Macdui has been the setting for some of Britain's most chilling mountain encounters, with reports dating back over a century. Climbers, hikers, and even seasoned mountaineers tell of an unseen presence that stalks the foggy slopes, accompanied by unnatural silence, sudden temperature drops, and the overwhelming feeling of being watched by something not quite human. The legend of the Grey Man is deeply rooted in local folklore. Descriptions vary, but most witnesses speak of a towering, shadowy figure, sometimes over 10 feet tall, lurking in the mist. It leaves no footprints, makes no sound, and vanishes when approached. The earliest documented encounter came in 1891 when renowned scientist Norman Collie recounted hearing enormous footsteps crunching through the snow behind him, matching his pace but revealing no visible source when he turned to look. Terrified, he fled down the mountain, later stating, "I was seized with terror, the kind of terror that no man can describe." His story inspired others to come forward with similar experiences, creating a pattern of encounters that continues to this day. Modern reports are just as unsettling. In 2019, a group of experienced hikers became separated near the summit in thick fog. One member described feeling an icy hand grab his shoulder before seeing a gray, elongated face staring at him from the mist, an encounter that left him with frostbite-like burns on his shoulder. Others tell of hearing deep, guttural breathing just behind them, only to turn and find nothing there. Electronic devices often malfunction near the summit, with cameras capturing strange, blurred shapes and audio recorders picking up whispers in no known language. The mountain's unpredictable weather adds to its eerie reputation, with sudden blizzards and fog banks appearing without warning. Some claim these phenomena are the Grey Man's doing, a way to disorient and trap intruders. Ben Macdui's haunted reputation extends beyond the Grey Man. The area around the summit is dotted with abandoned climbing gear, left by those who fled in panic. Some report hearing ghostly bagpipe music drifting across the rocks, a possible echo of long-lost climbers or something more supernatural. Others speak of shadow people, seen from the corner of the eye, always just out of direct sight. The mountain was also a crash site for several World War II aircraft, and some believe the spirits of lost airmen wander the slopes, their presence marked by the smell of burning metal and the sound of phantom engines roaring overhead. Scientists have tried to explain these phenomena as atmospheric tricks, infrasound, or the effects of isolation and altitude on the human mind. Yet no theory fully accounts for the consistency of the encounters, or the sheer terror they inspire. Those who have felt the grey man's presence describe a primal fear, as if the mountain itself is alive and hostile. Whether it's a lingering spirit, a relic of ancient folklore, or something beyond human understanding, Ben Macdui remains a place where rational thought falters. Climbers who brave its slopes often do so with unease, knowing they might not be alone, and that whatever shares the mountain with them does not welcome visitors.